my first company was in the influencer marketing space, and we were working with influencers on MySpace. So we're like pretty early. And over time, watched that space evolve. And one of the things that I came to realize is that every time there's a new channel or a new platform where consumers are engaging at scale, businesses tend to need an on-ramp into that channel, right? So think about, when brands are making websites, like Omniture figured out, Dashbot's kind of like the Omniture of chatbots, right? It's a pretty good analogy. Figured out how to help people understand what consumers were doing on their websites. And when email came out, exact target and responses were really big players helping, Fortune 500 businesses deploy email at scale. And, when social rolled out, you had our play, which was relatively early in the space, but then later it matured into the Sprinklers and the Spreadfasts and the V1s like the Buddy Medias and the Vitras of the world. Kind of helped be an on-ramp for businesses into that channel. We looked at the messaging space in late 2014 and what was happening with WeChat, and we thought, well, messaging is probably going to be a bigger deal here over the next couple of years, and businesses are probably going to need a partner and technology solution to help them get into that space. And so we started with that thesis and then sort of kind of ran from there. And that hasn't fundamentally changed over the last 4 years. We're still trying to do that, be the best partner and technology solution, for global brands in the messaging space. I feel like we are in sort of the first couple of years of what's going to be a 20-year deployment cycle of, automated conversational asynchronous experiences. I think the shift from sort of desktop web to mobile web to app into messaging has sort of it's accelerating, and we're launching a few new channels this year that didn't exist last year, and we've been implementing in a few channels that just launched last year that weren't there the year before. So a lot of this is going to open up, and there are going to be more platforms for you to deploy on. Ended up being true, and so I'm excited to see where it goes from here. But again, I feel like we're in this very, very early innings of what is going to be considered normal customer interactions in the next couple of years. So I guess that's exciting. I think the use cases are starting to kind of form up. When we started, you could only make automated chats. You could only deploy automated chats really on Kik. That was the only place that had any kind of platform to do that. So one of our first products was an emoji keyboard, right? So we had this content management system, and you could build and deploy iOS and Android keyboards. And Apple launched the iMessage App Store largely because people like us were kind of hacking the keyboard, infrastructure to build these distribution vehicles in iMessage. And so we brought all of our customers onto the iMessage App Store, and that was all just really, really early. And I think we saw a huge consumer scale on that side of things. Just the amount of usage on those products was massive, but the business impact was difficult to measure, right? I would say. And one of the challenges that we ran into is with social marketing, you can always grab a tweet or an Instagram post and put it on a slide deck and send it to your manager, right? We would go to some of these brand managers and we'd say, 30 million people shared your whatever product emoji, and you're that's great, but they can't see it. You can't see it. It's dark social. And so even though it's happening, it's fairly difficult for brand advertisers to be able to point to it and say, this is a great brand exercise, because, a lot about brand marketing is about being able to see it, and you can't see that happen. And I think that's a big challenge with particularly driven brand marketing in that space. We would be able to prove out through cohort analysis and that we could drive intent purchase and affinity towards a brand. But again, unless you can kind of put it on a slide and send it to the higher ups, it's a pretty difficult business to scale. And then when we launched bots, we're oh, this is not a great advertising product, but we'll figure out how we can kind of build infrastructure so you can acquire customers and really still deliver for that brand marketer. And then immediately, I remember we did a national retailer's chatbot on Facebook Messenger in 2016, and they drove 350,000 people into it in a week or two, and then just everybody started talking back, and their customer service team, I'll never forget this. The customer service team called up the marketing org and was what are you doing? Turn this thing off. This is insane. This is a service channel for us. And we were oh. And so we kind of had this epiphany that we were going to have to start to get smarter at deflecting some of that inbound service traffic and make these experiences a little bit more of a two-way dialogue. And that started a journey that I think, we began in late 2016 and that have been 100% focused on ever since, which is, if this is going to be a channel that brands and businesses and consumers are going to engage with, it's going to be, sure, marketing, but also there's going to be a service component to it. And so figuring out how to do that, it's not like email where you can have no replies that just go out. Like, you could do that, but who wants that in their messaging applications, right? Like, no one wants to just get hit with broadcast messages and SMS. Like, that's just not an interesting use case. We don't find it to be a very compelling product. And to make good experiences in messaging, you have to do the hard work of making it a dialogue. And so we've been really focused on that. And I think the space has been as well for the last couple of years.